Welcome to Rebel Roundup. Today is Tuesday, November the 18th, and I am your host today, Tamara Ugolini, and I'm joined by our regular contributor and my recent, well, I want to say new friend, but I guess it's kind of been a year or so since we've
Yeah.
first met, Lise, but a welcome friend, Lise Merle. And you are joining us, as I mentioned, on our Rebel Roundup, our daily news and opinion show that is sometimes painfully live. And so I'm filling in today for Sheila Gunn Reid, who's traveling to Brazil. If you haven't seen her coverage, I would highly, highly suggest and recommend you check it out
So good.
at rebelun.com. And so she's exposing the hypocrisy of the climate zealots there in I always want to I never pronounce it correctly. Belém,
Blem.
Brazil. Yes.
Yes.
And so there's some great posts there that if you haven't seen them, you have to check it out. And of course, if you want to support our coverage, because it was a disaster for Sheila to get there, and then it will be another disaster for her to get home, just in travel and connecting flights and all of the things. I think the last update I got was that she's basically surviving off of bagged potato chips because the food there is not great. But I believe that will be its own report. So stay tuned at rebelun.com for Sheila's adventures and travels. And then in her absence, I'm filling in. And then Lise is your regular Tuesday correspondent. So anyway, before we get into things, Lise, how are you doing over there in Saskatchewan?
What a fantastic week to be from the golden rectangle of Saskatchewan. As many of you know, we won the Grey Cup this weekend on Sunday. We beat the Montreal Alouettes, and we did it on Winnipeg's turf. And Winnipeg is not taking it well because they know that we are never going to let them live this down. We are going to hold this over our heads, over their heads forever. Like, hey, Winnipeg, how you like those banjos now? It was just superb. And after we won, we packed up all the kids because this is what happens in Regina when we win the Grey Cup is everybody leaves their houses in their jammy pants and whatever they're wearing on a Sunday night and congregates in downtown Regina. There were I got to say, 1,000 people in downtown Regina. We just can't get enough of this. And it's only the fifth time that we've won the Grey Cup. So it is a monumental deal in Saskatchewan. I'll be in green and white all week. And let me know if you want to come over and help me celebrate.
I love that. Looking super festive and fun, Lise, and it complements your eyes. And I'm green in spirit also by my eyes. So, welcome everyone to our green and white live stream today. And I guess for the rest of the week, if whenever Lise is on.
Mhm.
Um, Now, if you want to support us and you want to take part in this live stream, there's a fun way that you can do so, either on Rumble or YouTube. You can give us what's called a Rumble rant or a super chat over on YouTube. Or if you're joining us after we're already done live, you can give us what's called a super thanks. And so it's a fun way for you to support our show. And also, if you are tuning in live, to get involved directly and have your comment read live on air by us. Whether you have a tip or a trick or any other thing that you want to share with a broader audience through a $5 donation or more, you can do that either on those platforms that we're streaming on, YouTube or Rumble, whichever one you prefer. Now, without further ado, we will get into the topics because, as per usual, there are a lot of them. And right off the hop, the Carney Liberal government had their budget narrowly passed last night in the House of Commons, thanks to two NDP MPs that abstained from the final vote. It was so close. It hinged on the two of them. But the final vote passed, the budget passed through 170 to 168 votes. I mean, I empathize with a lot of Canadians who didn't want to see something like a Christmas election. You know, if the budget didn't pass, so if the budget hadn't have
Mhm.
passed, it would essentially work as a non-confidence vote in this government who's already in a minority. But thanks to the recent floor crossers, floor cross. They're only two seats from being a majority government now. And so if the budget hadn't passed, it would have triggered an election, and that writ would have dropped. And then I think it's 28, 30 days to the election, which would have lined us up pretty much right the week before Christmas. Not even, actually, I guess. And so I know a lot of Canadians don't want another election. We just finished a snap election this spring. We had another snap election in 2021. So, like, our last two elections in Canada have been snap elections, and they're expensive, and it's Christmas time. So, but also our government is essentially in free fall spending mayhem, and like the least transparent and accessible government that I remember having in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, the budget did pass, like I said, narrowly by 2 votes last night. And so the government will proceed with this. What do they call it? They were calling it generational wealth, I believe it was in the budget. I'm trying to find the actual words that Carney, the Liberals, used. Oh, I disconnected my internet
Which
because it was freezing.
Which would listen, it would make sense if we weren't, if we hadn't gone in the hole another, what, $80 billion? Like, a $80 billion, they could call it generational wealth if it meant that we were $80 billion in the black and not $80 billion in the red. But the truth of the matter is, Canada, our grandkids and great-grandkids are gonna be paying for this budget for their entire lives. The amount in interest payments that we are making on our debt right now could build a new hospital a day in Canada. And yet, here the government of we didn't hold them to account at election time. They skirted through the election, and now we have Mark Carney spending money at a pace that outclips Justin Trudeau. Remember
Hmm.
Christopher Freeland? Christopher Freeland said, right, I'm not going to present Justin Trudeau's budget because it's such a disaster and I'll never be able to defend it. Well, guess what we have now? We have an arguably worse budget that was just passed. It is ridiculous. Listen, I would love nothing more for Christmas than a conservative majority government. So that, like, that
True.
whole argument doesn't work for me. Like, listen, we pay these guys, we elect these guys to do hard work. And so being like, it's around Christmas, it'd be real hard for them. You know what? You're paid to do hard work. And what I see here is just an abdication of your duty to represent
Hmm.
all Canadians.
Yeah. Well, I'm over here waiting for whenever the budget will actually balance itself, which is a promise Justin Trudeau made to us. But yeah, so I wanted to lean on the actual verbiage of Carney in the budget delivery, where he called this $78 billion deficit generational investment. You see,
Oh,
they just flip the words, and it's a very Orwellian tactic. And it should actually be referred to as generational debt, because
sure.
these
That's
investments,
what it is.
it's like and it's primarily being done in these green pipe dreams that we continually see are faltering in the free market. Like, people don't want these green vehicles and these electric
No,
vehicles,
they do not.
so the government has to keep propping them up and subsidizing and tax breaking and giving all these handouts to these technologies that no one actually wants to spend their money on because they're unreliable and unpredictable. And so anyway, this budget just passed, and it is a wild time to be Canadian. But we have this post here on X from Carney where he says, "Tonight, the House of Commons has voted to pass Budget 2025." And I just want to keep reiterating, like, narrowly, narrowly
Like,
passed.
skinny your
Um,
teeth past. Yeah, you couldn't
yeah,
get it closer than this.
yeah, it's time to work together to deliver on this plan to protect our communities, empower Canadians with new opportunities, and build Canada strong. And as I mentioned in a report I did, I don't know, a week or two when the budget first dropped, which was months overdue, by the way. The budget's
Mhm.
supposed to be tabled in the spring, and Carney held on to this for months and then jet set over the summer holiday instead of getting down to work, with a government who's sat or been off or been prorogued more than it has actually been working at the House of Commons and in
Mhm.
Parliament for the better part of the last year plus.
Mhm.
But anyway, I called this not Build Canada Strong, but Build Canada Broke, because nothing in there is going to get us back on track economically. And remember, Mark Carney was supposed to be like the economic savior. He's this big
Oh,
banker, and everyone was like,
oh,
this is who we need."
he's so clever. Look at these big bad jobs that he's had forever. He's just he is the most brilliant economist that's ever
Yeah.
looked the earth like a Neanderthal. And then look what we got, Canada. Look what we got. Former Prime Minister of Britain tried to warn us about this. Liz Truss said, Mark Carney did a terrible job at the Bank of England. Canada, do not hire him as your prime minister. And look what then the elbows up came in, and we were gonna get this real smart guy. And what he's doing is hoodwinking the entire country to pay for the projects that benefit Brookfield and his liberal insiders. So our grandkids and great grandkids are going into debt to profit the people of Brookfield and their close associates who are all related to the liberal government. When we were talking about funding these crazy green schemes and these, crazy eco initiatives that nobody is asking for. Well, you know who's asking for them is their friends, Tamara. That's who's saying, we went to a climate conference and we invested in this company. Now the government of Canada should invest in it too. I
Mhm.
mean, it's ridiculous. The corruption is absolutely off the hook. How this is being allowed to happen is anybody's guess. But Canada, we're in deep, deep trouble.
Yeah, it's the Brookfield Bros who are set to benefit the most from this budget and
Hmm.
the government dedicating our tax dollars to these supposed investments and generational investments that are just double speak for more debt and more destruction in this country. I
Yeah.
mean, Pierre Poilievre, leader of the opposition, called it for what it was late last night after the budget passed. And he said Mark Carney's budget will drive up the cost of living on every Canadian, on food, on homes, and on everything else Canadians buy. And that's like, you don't see that. Well, I think more Canadians are now starting to recognize and realize that passed down debt that comes to the consumer because of those taxes and the carbon
Sure.
taxes and all of these things that the Liberals have put into place and legislated, slowly making its way down the consumption pike to the average Canadian. But he says conservatives demanded an affordable budget for an affordable life on behalf of the Canadians that Liberals have priced out of food, homes, and life. Conservatives voted no tonight on this costly credit card budget. Yeah, that
Yeah.
gambles away Canada's future. Yeah, and I should note that it only narrowly passed with the support of the Bloc Québécois, the NDP, and then, of course, the lone soldier from the Green Party,
Oh,
Elizabeth
Elizabeth
May.
May, just the worst. She's a menace to society. Like, how was she allowed to be an MP? If psychological tests were required, okay, to be an MP, Elizabeth May would be the first one sent packing. But no, this budget, Marty up north on X distilled it really well. He said, this budget is 7 months late, $70 billion deficit, 60 billion in interest payments alone, debt nearing $3 trillion. Debt to GDP ratio is the worst in the industrialized world. Shady accounting practices, and this is something that we have to get into maybe a little later. Moving the goalposts and no fiscal anchors. None of the opposition parties got what they wanted, but several of their MPs chose to side with the Liberals. A few MPs were noticeably absent. They could have voted remotely. And then he finishes up by saying, it's a good day for Alberta independence. And I'd like to just add Saskatchewan to that too. So
Free the West.
free the West.
I thought Roman Baber also had a good takeaway
Mm.
here, and then he was retweeted or reposted. Let's share his remarks first, and then we'll show who he was requote posted by. I don't
Mm.
even know what that's called on X anymore.
A quote tweet, a quote post,
Quote post,
quote
yeah.
tweet used to be quote tweet, but yeah, okay.
Budget 2025-2026 passes. Roman Baber, Conservative Member of Parliament. 2 NDP abstentions means Carney's budget is passing with $78 billion in deficits, $5,400 per family. Almost 500,000 people are getting immigration amnesty. That's either asylum seekers or refugee claimants are getting amnesty under this budget. $1 trillion green scam that's going to benefit Carney's cronies. Tough day here on Parliament Hill, but our Conservative team and our leader, Pierre Poilievre, we're going to keep fighting for our country. We're going to come back from this. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
and then The
I'm happy
asylum
the person is
seekers
optimistic. Yeah.
The asylum seekers stuff is absolutely insane. I was pulling up the most recent stats and data on that
Mm.
one. I don't know if we'll have time to get into it all, and it's probably just worth its own separate report. But I wanted to note the retweet by former health minister Mark Miller, and I think he was at a brief period also the immigration minister. Maybe I'm wrong on that, so don't quote
Yeah,
me.
he was. Yeah, he
Very,
was.
very briefly, yeah, he
Mhm.
was the also the immigration minister. He says complete horseshit. Like, have a little bit of decorum first of all. I'm not about like policing people's language, but I mean, I don't know. I just think that you could find better words to use. That the budget offers amnesty for 500,000 asylum seekers. This guy is just making it up. I mean, he's
That's
getting into the nitty gritty of semantics, I think, because there's asylum seekers, there's refugee claimants, there's temporary foreign workers, there's international students, and then there's permanent residents. Like, those are five different categories, all kind of all under the umbrella of immigration. And 500,000 is actually a very low number. It's more than that when you include all of those five different definitions under
yes.
that broader umbrella.
Yes.
And so he's getting caught up on the semantics that Roman Baber in a 40-second, off the cusp clip, when the numbers are staggering. The amount of that we pay into our immigration, refugees and citizenship Canada bureaucracy is astronomical and has grown exponentially since 2021 and 2022. Like, I'm talking 2-3-fold higher, both in people we're letting in and in budgetary allowances since that time. Like, and there's nowhere for these people to go. We don't have the infrastructure. We didn't plan appropriately for any of this influx. And so it's like, yeah, that needs to be called out, and getting hung up on that semantics of asylum seekers is just absolutely asinine, in my opinion.
Oh, he uses that number. He's like, I'm gonna throw at this number and use it as a cudgel to destroy whatever he just had to say. Listen, 500,000 is 500,000 people too many, Mark
Yeah.
Miller. Okay, 500,000 people too many. We're full. Not sure if you've noticed, but we're right full in Canada. Okay, that's 500,000 people too many.
Well, and 500,000, it's not even far off. I just put a link in the bottom of our chat there.
Mm,
This comes from the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada. So these are official government stats, and it's just one
okay.
stat that I'll throw to. It's claims by country of alleged persecution 2025, and it's actually only half of the year. It's from January to June 2025. And pending as of June 30th, there was 287, almost 288,000 claimants. And that's just for the refugee program. So yeah, that number is actually on par for how many
Oh.
claimants we are set to receive just in refugee claimants by the end
Look
of
at
this year.
this. And far be it for me to suggest that Afghanistan and Algeria are culturally non-compatible with Western culture, but they're
Oh,
not. And this is where the vast majority of these claimants will be coming from, is from cultures that don't align with Western culture, don't have different societal expectations, and are going to serve to destroy what we know and love about Canada and
the
our
one
Canadian culture, our uniquely Canadian culture.
100%. And I want to note here, as I'm scrolling through this list, India is one of the largest refugee claimants countries, 9,947 of them. And then I believe, as I'm scrolling through it, Mexico was the next runner up. There's thousands from Haiti. I mean, this data, it speaks for itself, and you can see. And I
What?
wanted to go back and compare it to previous years, because we know that a lot of these refugee claimants are increasingly fraudulent, and they're just learning that, hey, I can get a free pass into
Get a
Canada.
loophole, that's
uh,
right.
I can get these
Exploiting our
loopholes
loopholes. Yep.
they can also get health benefits through the refugee program specifically. And so there's all these perks if you come in as a refugee, because you get to then take advantage of Canada's social safety nets, our healthcare, our housing, all of these things that were put in place for people in need. And I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate refugee claims, and we have that program in place for a reason, but it has been very clearly exploited in recent years,
Mhm.
and that is only continuing to grow and proliferate. And so when you say, hey, 500,000 asylum seekers, yeah, that's how many we're on track to get just this
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
That is astronomical.
And we're wondering how we have all of the like foreign interference issues that we're having at all in all levels of government. Well, this is how. This is how we import the third world, we become the third world, and
Exactly.
this is the plan that they're unrolling for us. And it's because of our bureaucracy, our unaccountable bureaucracy that just rubber stamps these applications, sends these guys into Canada, and guess who gets to pay for it? You guys, us, the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Who voted for this? Mm,
100%, especially as food bank usage in Canada is through the roof. We have a housing crisis. Our healthcare is
sure.
basically in free fall. Good luck getting a surgery for anything as your health condition compounds and you become more reliant on, big pharma because you can't get timely and appropriate access to medical care. So all these systems are like crumbling under immense strain, on the brink of crumbling if they're not already. And we have just like the floodgates opened for things like refugee claimants. It is absolutely crazy that it's been allowed to get to this breaking point, but it's reached such a boiling point now that so many Canadians are finally done with it. They're like, you know what? I don't care if you want to call me racist for speaking out about this unfettered, unmitigated immigration that we have. Like Canada used to have a world-class immigration system. If
Yeah.
we could just tamper it back, rein it back into those historic levels that were sustainable, that could be properly integrated into our society, then we would be, in my opinion, a lot better off than this just like, welcome to Canada and we have everything. So come on in, come one, come all, and we'll we'll just try to make it work. Meanwhile, it's not fair to anyone, whether it's the Canadians who
No.
already live here, those who came here the proper way, using the
Mhm.
proper channels, or those who came here with the promise of a better life, of opportunity. Now they come here and they see, oh, I can't afford food. There's no housing. Transit's a mess. Our highways are clogged with
They're tra
untrained,
our
unlicensed
yeah, our
transport truck
education
drivers.
our educate the education system in Canada. You should hear how mad the immigrants are about the education system here in Canada, actually. No, but I remember being so naive, Tamara, like back in must have been like 2017, somewhere in there. This is where the migration out of Syria through Turkey and Greece had started to happen. And I remember saying out loud in public, on the air, we're in Canada, we're so lucky. We're so lucky because we got a whole ocean between us. No way we're going to get people in dinghies floating up to our shores. Little did I know that through COVID, when nobody was looking, they were just bringing in airplane after airplane after airplane. And they did it 5 million times over. And I'm at the point now where I'm saying, no, no, we have to send back 9 out of 10 people that arrived during this time. 9 out of 10 have to go back. I don't care. I don't care where you go, but you can't stay here. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
But it doesn't even matter if we want to send them back or not, because the Canadian Border Services Agency has lost upwards of 500,000 people who are due for deportation. And it's like there's no mechanisms in place to ensure that we keep track of the people who came in here, who are, seek refugee status, and then they come into Canada and it's like, okay, well, where did they go? What happened to them? Where did they end up? And the Canadian Border Services Agency and liberals are
Mm,
like, we don't know.
mm,
It's anyone's guess, but like hopefully they're working somewhere, I guess. They're like a surgeon now, perhaps.
sure.
We've been
Engineers and
told,
doctors.
yeah,
Engineers and doctors. Yeah.
surprise,
Yeah.
they're your new surgeon.
Oh,
But we don't have any mechanisms in place to rein this back in and say, hey, where did all those people who came in, in 2021, 2022, and then from that point onward, when we saw these massive record-breaking numbers come into this country, there's
mhm.
no way of finding them now. And
No, it's
that is the
wild.
craziest part to me, that the liberals are pushing through legislation to censor the internet and clamp down on online hate, and yet we have real threats to our country and our democracy just out in the wild anywhere among us. Like, we don't even know where these people
No.
are.
No, because it's easier for the government to point at moms like you and I and be like, "It's the trad wives. It's the trad wives that are the extremists. These hate-filled trad wives." To like, well, whatever. Okay, like, okay, buddies. We're not the ones bringing in the crime. We're not the ones
Yeah.
running the fentanyl labs. We're not the ones interfering in. A crow just about came through my window just there. In
Oh,
pardon me. That
what
was
kind of sign is that?
my last name means blackbird, so that oof, sorry about that. I don't know what's happening here. There. Okay, sorry, got distracted by what was happening out my window because it rarely happens like that. But no, we're institutional failure, all by design. The conspiracy theorists would say, and I would be, I would be real likely to agree with them at this point.
Yeah, it's just a conspiracy fact. You're just about 3 to 6 months ahead of the curve,
Mhm.
basically. Okay, so that's on our budget rant there. And then there was two conservative MPs that abstained from the vote, and one of them, Shannon Stubbs, someone here
Mm,
came to her, I don't know, defense, I suppose.
yeah.
Anyone questioning, this was a post on X, comes from Damien Kurek, who said, anyone questioning Shannon Stubbs' ethics doesn't know her. She's a fighter who takes no prisoners. She missed the vote tonight due to major surgery, delayed once already by the spring election, to fix complications she's battled her whole life. I spoke to her before surgery. No, she wanted nothing more than to keep working. She would have loved nothing more than to vote down this disaster liberal budget. And I know she stands 100% with Pierre Poilievre.
Okay.
So,
Well, she could have
yeah,
voted remotely. So what the hell happened here, guys? What the hell happened here? When every vote counts, you know what? I've had it with politicians who will do absolutely anything, bend over backwards to get people out to vote for them, to get them elected. And then when it comes down to it, you're just missing in action. Well, something happened, something came up, a big life thing, a big surgery. I don't care. She should have cast a vote on behalf of the conservatives. And it's honestly unforgivable that they couldn't figure this out. Why was accommodation not made for her to cast a vote against
yeah,
this budget? It would have made a difference.
absolutely. And the other one, conservative MP Matt Jeanreau, who had announced his impending resignation. Well, I'm sorry, but you were still elected by constituents to do and deliver on a mandate.
Oh,
Um,
he's still cashing his paychecks, buddies. He's still getting his taxpayer paychecks. Where the hell was he?
yeah,
This is honestly unforgivable. When it was this close, we need all hands on deck, and it's unforgivable that there were even two absences in the Conservative Party. Don't you know what? I have no interest in them defending their buddies in this moment. This was a massive misstep, and it just shows how disorganized the Conservatives are right now. Sorry, guys, but this was a swing and a miss.
which is why they weren't ready for a snap election. Um,
Ooh, that ooh. Ooh, they didn't want it. Yeah, because
no,
well, they
of
didn't
course
want it.
not. I just wanted to throw to these comments by Green Party leader and sole Green Party member
Do it.
with a seat in the House of Commons, Elizabeth May. These were her comments ahead of the vote, where she stated unequivocally she would be voting yes.
I heard overwhelmingly from my constituents and Canadians from coast to coast that they wanted someone to stop an election happening by accident. That's a place of responsibility.
By
And I
accident.
heard my own inner voice say, we're at the very edge of it being too late for us to be sure that our own children and grandchildren alive today can live in a livable world where human civilization is sustainable. Without what I heard from the Prime Minister today, I would have voted no. I didn't like the idea of ducking and abstaining, although that was a possibility. I wasn't afraid of an election for me personally, for the Green Party.
Irrelevant.
But the answer is, I heard a firm commitment to something I hadn't heard before from Mark Carney, Prime Minister, that I'd heard previously from Mark Carney, former Governor of the Bank of Canada, former Governor of the Bank of England, former Special Envoy for Climate Finance to the Secretary General of the United Nations. I heard a firm commitment we will meet our Paris targets. That requires
Rejoice,
action very
Elizabeth May.
soon, because the first target we're going to hit is 2030 and then 2035. Legally binding treaty commitments, and a commitment to do far more that we've heard in the budget with funding for the Kunming Montreal commitments to nature, to stop beating up on Mother Earth and start the process.
I can't. Elizabeth May is so unhinged. I can't listen to her. That's enough, Elizabeth May. Just go and sit down somewhere.
Well, that was a real long way of saying he shoveled a bunch of money at my friends in the crunchy earth muffin community, and I'm delighted about it. Like that was a lot of words to say, Elizabeth May. But please just, man,
Elizabeth May just can't wait for the Paris Accord. She's like, finally, we're back with our green pipe dreams.
If we could only have some more international treaties to govern us when we didn't vote, for it. If we could only let the international community make up all the rules of our society, that'd be great. That's what Elizabeth May is saying there. I mean, like I said, she's a menace. She is a menace to society.
Yep, she's bowing to the globalists. Like, please enslave me harder. Yes, take our tax dollars. Take our tax dollars and put it into Brookfield. Thank you, Mark Carney.
Yeah.
I can't wait to vote yes for you and your insane, out of control spending budget
that exactly
somehow repurposes generational debt as investment with our upside down, bizarro world doublespeak that we currently live under in the regime of Canada. I wanted to flash back before we button up this budget talk on the the interim parliamentary budget officer, Jason Jacques, who called the budget, called the spending for what it was. I think this was about a month or so ago.
I would have said a month. Yeah,
in the standing committee. And now the Liberals are swiftly trying to replace him and get that permanent person into this position after these comments. That was at the time also when the parliamentary budget officer was only projecting a $65 billion, I say only, a $65 billion deficit when actually it's almost 80. So this is what he said at that time, and fast track now.
Should be very alarming, right? These are, I don't know, I think I used the words in French, and which the translators probably got really well, like stupefying, shocking, right? This is not, like, it's not a funny fiscal outlook. It's a really serious fiscal outlook. And we don't lightly use the word unsustainable. Right? Unsustainable means you don't have the option of saying, maybe I'll wait a couple of years, I'll see how things go. It means if you don't change, this is done, right? So it's very serious.
Yeah, that was a month ago.
Serious, yeah. Yeah. And we need more guys like that, by the way. Like, I love that he's, probably a classically trained economist, accountant, or somebody that's very, very well versed in the rules of how these things work. And all of his body language was just like so nervous. And so we need more guys like this to be sounding the alarm. But now that his appointment is up, so this is like a fixed year term situation. He was appointed the parliamentary budget officer for a period of, what was it, 3 years, is it? And now they're looking for a new guy. For the new guy they're looking for, they're like, you must have discretion and not ring the alarm on these things. So what we want is a new guy that's going to go along with what the government tells him to go along with. Well, best of luck. I mean, we need more guys in the world like this,
Hmm.
not less, and we're going to get a sellout that the Liberals approve. Just
Absolutely.
watch.
Yeah, one of Carney's Brookfield bros. Just you wait
Yep.
and see. There will be some
Yeah.
connection somewhere.
Scooting in the door. Yeah. Some like Bitcoin bro, you know? Can't you see the federal government just like appointing a Bitcoin bro? Actually, going back to the Grey Cup, and I think that we have video of Mark Carney getting booed at the Grey Cup, and he got booed unmercilessly. The CBC reported it as him getting cheered and booed, and I was like,
Of course.
there was not a cheer in the house. But right after right after Mark Carney gets booed at the coin toss part of the game, before the game, they introduce a Bitcoin bro along with Mark Carney, okay? And they are sponsoring the actual coin that they toss ahead of the game. Well, guess what that guy's company is the Bitcoin bro is in bed with Mark Carney. This was nothing more than a Brookfield PR scheme. The entire Grey Cup. Okay, what? Oh, do we have audio of this? Let's watch. Oh, maybe not. Okay.
Yeah.
They're gonna get a better. Our Olivia's gonna get some better audio, but the guy, the Bitcoin bro that was standing next to Mark Carney that got booed on the heels of Mark Carney is also on his, yep, it's a conflict of interest. Look at this. Oh, they're in business bed together. Coinbase Global. He is the head of. So guaranteed that it's going to be one of those guys that gets this new sweet gig in Ottawa. Oh, here we go. This is amazing. It's absolutely made my night.
Now for the coin toss. Joining the team captains is the Prime Minister of Canada, le Premier Ministre du Canada, Mark Carney, and the CEO of Coinbase Canada, Lucas Matheson.
Poor Lucas. Poor Lucas got booed into oblivion by coming in on the heels of Mark Carney. It was crazy, guys. Okay, so just another quick point. On the back of every one of these players' jerseys is the Mobil logo, like Mobil, the gas station. Okay, so guess who owns Mobil? Like if you had to guess, just big wild guess, who owns Mobil in Canada? The gas stations in the superstore parking lots. It's Brookfield. Brookfield owns Mobil. This was not like Mark Carney was not there as the Prime Minister of the country. He was there to represent Brookfield. Look at this. Brookfield Business Partners acquired Loblaw's network of 213 gas stations for about $540 million. This is back in 2017. As part of the deal, Brookfield partnered with Imperial Oil to rebrand the stations under the Mobil Fuel brand, which was a new brand for Canada. So the entire Grey Cup, everything you saw on TV was fake and gay and a lie. And it was meant to be a big PR stunt for Mark Carney and the evil overlords at Brookfield.
And I'm pretty sure he came in after and tried to save face. And he was like, well, there was some cheering too.
No, there wasn't.
And I'm like, it reminds me of that moment in the States.
Tails, Mr. Prime Minister, would you do us the honor? Tails has been called. This is a tails.
Just roasted.
Remember the let's go Brandon. It reminds me exactly of that when in the United States they were cheering something completely opposite. I don't know if we can pull up that clip. I think it was 2020, 2021. It was early pandemic days, but the crowd was cheering something and the mainstream media was like, oh, it sounds like they're cheering let's go Brandon.
Let's go Brandon. That's
And
exactly what
it
happened.
was not let's go Brandon. Can we pull that clip? Is that somewhere in the ether?
I mean, that was a classic moment, and that's what they tried to do here to us.
Yeah.
And actually, on the TSN, On the TSN replays, they muted those boos. So it's like they're trying to rewrite and memory hole what you just saw and heard and erase it. Because TSN, I mean, this is not a good look for TSN to bring in the prime minister to get him booed by the entire crowd. Now, not to mention that a great many people in that stadium, in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers stadium, were from Saskatchewan. So if you're wondering if Mark Carney has any support here in the Prairies, the answer is no. Absolutely not. Here's Let's Go Brandon. Oh, this was a moment in time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Thank you to all of our partners. Oh my God, it's just such an unbelievable moment.
Brandon, you also told me, as you can hear the chants from the crowd, let's go, Brandon. Brandon, you told me you were kind of
Let's go, Brandon. Poor Brandon. Anyway, exact same thing. Very, as I mentioned, very Orwellian, right? This double speak, the memory holing, the gaslighting, like 2 + 2 = 5 kind of stuff happening in real time. I think more and more Canadians are starting to see it. And they're going, wait a minute. If you're getting booed by the entire crowd at the Grey Cup, maybe this isn't the saving economist that the CBC serves you on a silver platter.
Yes.
I just want to throw to this quick super chat that we got from Politicians Never Lie. Gives $2.22. Rebel news equals Canada's best legit news. Thank you so much, Politicians
thanks,
Never
honey.
Lie. We
Thanks,
will
honey.
hit an ad break and then we will come back for more.
You like the hat? Me too. Same strong message about making Canada great again, but in a really cool color, black and gold. There's other colors available, and it's an all-Canadian site. So if you want to signal your tribe or trigger a Liberal, go to mcgahats.ca today.
Gun bans make great distractions.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of...
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted, while criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. Join us, Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
All right, we touched on some of the Grey Cup stuff before we went for that break, but I think that we should wrap it up by throwing to some of this other stuff. And I mean, I think the booing is just so glorious that we can just play it again. Let's just, for anybody who may have missed it in our last clip, let's just start from the top. Mark Carney getting booed at the Grey Cup. Listen to this.
Now for the coin toss. Joining the team captains is the Prime Minister of Canada, le Premier Ministre du Canada, Mark Carney, and the CEO of Coinbase Canada, Lucas Matheson.
I feel like you can see on his face that he knows, like, oh,
he's like,
this is not the welcome reception I was hoping for.
I thought this was going to be my 15 minutes of fame, and everybody's booing me. How embarrassing. Like, how embarrassing.
And the crowd just keeps booing.
They literally booed during the anthem, during the singing of the Canadian anthem. The camera is panning down the line, and I was like, is that Mark Carney and his osteoporosis back standing there? And it got close. They booed him during the anthem. They booed him during the coin toss. And they booed him wherever they saw him in the stadium. Actually, Just Bins posted a clip of some kid in the audience. And he, Mark Carney is up in this balcony situation. This kid is like, Mark Carney, hey, Mark Carney. And Mark Carney waves, and this kid gives him the finger. Screw you, commie. And it was like, whose kid is that? I love that kid. That could be my kid. Was that my kid?
Was that my kid?
Was that my kid? I want that to be my kid. But look at these buttes. So this is all of Saskatchewan right now. Nobody has a shirt on in wintertime.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. The energy is just effusive, and everybody is in green and white for the rest of the week. The end. Like look at those buttes with their shirts off. Like like those are the players. Tamara Ugolini out there shirtless. I'm like, I love this for us. Like I love this energy for Saskatchewan. So
The farmer's
yep.
tan, shirtless in the
Just
beginnings of winter. I mean, textbook Canadian vibes.
bring the dad bods. Like we just love the dad bod. We want more dad bods in this world, and we're getting it in Saskatchewan this week. So anyway, yeah, Mark Carney not popular at the Grey Cup. For the record, everybody, that was not the Grey Cup. It was a PR stunt for Brookfield, and we saw right through it. So if you noticed all those things during the Grey Cup, congratulations. You're a great rebel viewer.
And thank you to all the internet sleuths that make sure that that reaches the ether and our wonderful X accounts. But I just wanted to throw also to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers taking the loss fairly well, just impeding doom on the earth. They posted, well, oh, I just clicked out of it. Well, at least the sun will explode one day and none of this will matter.
They are not taking this well. I mean, if anybody, if Winnipeg could have picked the last team on planet Earth that was going to win the Grey Cup in their house, it would be the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And that we did it there is just the icing on the cake. Like to say that there's a rivalry between, like, listen, there's nothing to love about Winnipeg or Manitoba for that matter. I'm from Saskatchewan. We have a lifelong rivalry with those guys, and that we ate their lunch in their own house and then took their wicker love seat home, like just icing on the cake. It makes it that much better for us. So
I love some
thanks.
of the comments of that post. The admin while typing this, and it's like a monkey just depressed in front of his computer. So many people, that's the spirit.
The best. That might have been the funniest post, like Grey Cup post, was the Winnipeg Blue Bombers admin's response. It was just brilliant. Like whoever wrote that post from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers should get a big fat social media raise because it was just so funny.
And then I wanted to throw also to this clip. I believe it's a clip we have of Trevor Harris, who dropped to his knee
You
and gave thanks to
guys.
God.
Let's do talk about Saskatchewan's 39-year-old quarterback, Trevor Harris. He's an American. Came to Saskatchewan as a free agent in 2025. And what he did in the seconds after winning the game and in his speeches and in his thanks and in all of the press is thank God over and over and over. And it's really quite beautiful. As a matter of fact, if this is the one takeaway that anybody gets from the game, this is the make of a man. This is what we should be modeling for our young men. And in Saskatchewan, we are lucky to have him. So here's the last play of the game. It's a Hail Mary. They're going to try and drive that ball all the way through the end zone. And they get, just a second. No, that wasn't the last play. This is the last play of the game. Okay. So last seconds, 0 time on the clock. They're going to try and fire it down. We knock it out of the air. Okay, now watch this. Here's Trevor Harris, 39 years old, pinnacle of his career. He steps on the field, he kneels, and he thanks Jesus. It's just beautiful. It's just really beautiful. His speech after winning the game was extraordinary. In sport, it's real important to have solid leaders, solid male leaders. And it's really important that we give our boys sports legends to look up to. And everything he said is something that I would rubber stamp as a yes to influence my kids. He talked about the importance of family, the importance of God and Jesus in his life. He had the most beautiful embrace of his family after the game. And Saskatchewan wants to keep it was mentioned a lot of times that he's 39 years old, that this is the pinnacle of his career. But I would suggest that Trevor Harris is just getting started in this world, and we look forward to seeing a lot more of him. He's just a beaut. He's just a beaut.
I love that wholesome vibe. I think definitely I echo those sentiments, Lise, that we need more of that to look up to and not these nonsense influencers that have just peanuts for brains.
That's right.
All right, we'll go, I guess, to some extras. We have this clip here of Mark Carney kind of tying it back to that one of those initial clips that we shared with you from Roman Baber, who was calling out the budget for having all this funding for asylum seekers. You have Mark Carney here admitting what he loves most about Toronto. And guess what? It's that half of the people who live there weren't born there.
The role Toronto plays in our country, it's in many respects the best of Canada because it's all of Canada in one place. As you know, virtually half of the people in the greater GTA were born outside this country. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know because they quickly become Canadian.
Are you sure?
And enriched by them. And that's true of our country as a whole. It's always been true of our country. And of course, Toronto is center of finance, of culture, of business, huge entrepreneurship here. So there's so many things that make Toronto unique, relatively unique. The sum of them all being together in one place, I guess. But the nature of it and the genius of Toronto is the genius of Canada. For all of its
entrepreneurship,
plays,
entrepreneurship in Canada under the Liberals is basically dead because you have businesses fleeing this country for actual opportunity in the States, including Carney's own Brookfield Bros and all their tentacle affiliates. I've been saying this in my reports and on this live stream for, I don't know, it feels like, I just feel like beating a dead horse and a broken record, but the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, receives more than half of all Canada's immigration, whether that be refugee claimants, asylum seekers, temporary foreign workers, international students, and actual permanent residents. And I'm sure I'm missing some under the immigration umbrella, but it is insane how many actually funnel into specifically the Greater Toronto Area, this little corridor stretched along the 401. And you see it. there's no hiding from this anymore. And that urban sprawl that we were all told to be, warned of, encroaching on your farmlands. And we have the green belt here in that same area. It has a lot of supposed to be protected kind of green space. Well, that's all been encroached upon, and there's nowhere for the influx that we've seen in recent years to go. And so when people are like, oh, but we have to protect the farmlands and we have to keep it's called the Golden Horseshoe, and it's supposed to function, they frame it as like the lungs of the GTA. Excuse me, I think I have to cough. But there's nowhere for these individuals to go. And so you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't save the green space and save these protected lands while simultaneously welcoming record numbers of people into the same area where there's no housing, there's no opportunity. Everything is stagnating in the GTA. And thanks to weak leadership also from Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, like none of this is changing or getting any better.
Well, and how is it even socially permissible for the leader of a country to come out and say, the place that I like most in this nation is the place with the most people not from here. That is just the best. That is just the best place in the country for entrepreneurship and all of the things that Mark Carney, what is wrong with you? This is not a flex. That 50% of the people in Toronto aren't from here. That's not a good thing. And as a matter of fact, I think it shows the societal rot that the Liberals have brought in. Because as soon as we start bragging that the best places don't have any old stock Canadians in them, that's problematic. That's real problematic.
And just shows Mark Miller reposting that from Roman Baber and calling it hogwash. And I paraphrase there.
Horse manure.
Horse manure. It shows how tone deaf they really are. Like in the same breath, pretty much. You have the Prime Minister acknowledging that over half of the people in Toronto aren't actually from Canada at all. And I've said it in other reports. Immigration without integration, without oversight, without mechanisms, without accountability is an invasion. And that's what has been allowed and tolerated under the Liberals for the last decade, but enhanced throughout 2021 and onward. Like, quite literally. Let me just, I don't know if I did close it out, but you can go to Statista, or you can go to StatsCan, and you can look at the graphs and the charts for yourself and see the record numbers of immigration that we have opened. Like, when I say the words opened the floodgates, I'm not kidding. We did open those floodgates, and it's not fair to anyone, no matter which way you look at it, that we are seeing such demise of our social
devastation
safety nets.
Devastation of our safety nets.
Well,
But
there's not the infrastructure there to handle it. It
but
just
the
wasn't
politicians, the politicians that okay this, the politicians that support these initiatives are absolutely impervious and untouched by the negative consequences. You think Mark Miller's neighborhood is being overtaken by immigrants, by violent immigrants? Absolutely not. You think Mark Miller or any of his cohorts are waiting on Canadian wait lists? Absolutely not. They're going south to the Mayo Clinic and wherever else they're accessing. You think their kids go to public schools? They don't. They go to private schools. They have insulated themselves from their own bad decisions, and this is why they are incapable of seeing the negativity that's coming from unmitigated immigration.
Yeah, their children aren't being affected by the record youth unemployment, who are being undercut by a slave labor class of temporary foreign workers who were sold on this idea that, hey, if you come here and then you have to pay your employer, like people who were brought on the temporary foreign worker program, which worked well for a lot of years when it had those checks and balance kept in line with those historical numbers. Now the temporary foreign workers themselves are being exploited at the hands of employers and managers who are set to make a profit off of their head, off of them coming in and working at this place, and they exploit them, they underpay them, they force them to engage in unsafe labor practices. I mean, the Liberals' own reports have featured this in their immigration reports to Parliament, dating back to at least 2021, and they've sat on this for years and allowed it to proliferate. This isn't new stuff. The Liberals knew about it. The media could have been reporting on it, but instead they've all been too scared to be called xenophobic than actually do their jobs and say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't benefiting anyone, including the temporary foreign workers who have been told that you have opportunity and a better life in Canada. They have been entirely exploited. And the likes of Brookfield, well, they enjoy that because they get cheap labor as a result.
Well, they get access to an entirely new market. I mean, 5 million people, that's a humongous market that they get to exploit, isn't it?
And then just to add insult to injury, we have a land acknowledgement here from the Prime Minister, as again, so tone deaf and out of touch, as these land acknowledgements are leading to real ongoing legal land disputes in places like British Columbia, here in Ontario, Sault Ste. Marie.
New Brunswick is the newest on the list. There's a land claim that's what did I hear? 50% of the entire province, including the entire city of Moncton, is now being targeted for a land claim by Indigenous groups there. Like, it's wild. But yeah, let's watch Mark Carney be tone deaf and awful.
I'd like to acknowledge the representatives of the Gitxalas First Nation, the Kitsukalam First Nations, and recognize that we are here on the traditional territory of the Tsimshian people. I'd like to acknowledge other representatives of other First Nations communities who've gathered with us today and whom we honor. I'd like to acknowledge.
The thing about land claims, and we're starting to see it happen, is that if the land was stolen, well, give it back. And if it wasn't, then what are you going off about? And so now the natives and the Aboriginals are saying, hey, wait a minute, you've been acknowledging that this is unceded territory for what, 4 or 5 years now? Well, we're coming for the land then, because you've been acknowledging that it actually
Right.
doesn't belong to you. So
Right.
let's take it back. And that is what is happening in real
You know,
time. We see
I
it.
give as much as I obviously don't want to see regular Canadians home prices drop through the basement. I don't want to see any harm come to come to Canadians, especially as it pertains to private property. Maybe this is the wake up call that we need. Maybe we need a couple cities to be seeded over back to that watch the property values plummet through the ground and watch people lose their homes for the country to wake up. Like, this is where all of these land acknowledgements, this is where support of UNDRIP comes in real handy, because we can shine a spotlight on, right, accepting UNDRIP's conditions as a treaty, as a nation, has devastating consequences to the private property rights of the people of that nation. And I don't for a minute subscribe to the thought that this land was stolen, that white people banished Indigenous people. Uh, Canadians built this country. We did not destroy anybody's way of life. As a matter of fact, we positively impacted Indigenous people. Okay, Indigenous people were still in the Stone Age upon the point of contact. Okay, if it weren't for contact by Europeans, Indigenous people maybe wouldn't even still have a wheel. They wouldn't be able to read. They wouldn't be able to do math. They wouldn't have proper housing, water, hygiene, healthcare,
Light
education.
bulbs.
None of those things, okay, would exist. The ways that European contact positively impacted this nation and had a lasting and wonderful impact on the way we live can't be understated. And so every time you hear a land acknowledgement, absolutely turn your back, get up, leave the room. I'm sort of subscribing to this. I'm not taking part in this anymore.
Mhm.
And I know that I am not the only one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as those private property rights become threatened and further and encroached upon by these, what was sold to us as just like, oh, it's just it's part of truth and reconciliation,
It's
and it's
kind.
really
It's
it's
kind.
meaningless, but it's the right thing to do. Well, we're
Mhm.
seeing that's actually playing out to not be the case.
Like so many things that are initially floated to Canadians as a kindness or as something that we have to do to be a good neighbor. Many years later, all of the truth comes out with the wash, right? And then we realize, oh, okay, we were sold a bill of goods that we actually can't cash, and all of those land acknowledgements were backing up the claim of these Indigenous land claims that are impacting provinces across the country. It is crazy. So whenever the left floats a really benign, be kind, just go along with it, go along to get along, reject it outright. Just know that they have their eyes on a completely different thing that we can't see coming. This is why we must reject their ideology outright.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's why it's important we do that.
I'm going to throw to a couple of these super chats before we get into our daily dose of cringe and wrap things up. So BD54 gives $6.99. Thank you very much. The budget fiasco moves Alberta closer to a referendum on independence. Sask will join us. Pierre will be without a seat. Again, go Riders.
Go Riders. Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
And Mama Mia 86 gives $27.99. Thank you. Why aren't the temporary foreign workers or students who came in fraudulently being deported? Also, boycott Tim Hortons. I'm a bookkeeper with Tim Hortons clients. It's all foreign workers to get the benefit. Yeah, these fast food chains, Tim Hortons, Subway, A&W, I see so much of this happening there in those establishments, but they're not being deported. Well, first of all, you have a Liberal MP sponsoring a bill to grant permanent residency to anyone who's scheduled for deportation or whose visa will expire. So there's that. But also, I think that if they came in fraudulently and then they decided to just disappear, which you can pretty easily in Canada because we're such a vast land mass, they just disappear. And the CBSA, as we mentioned earlier on in the show, the Canadian Border Services Agency, has lost track of 500,000 people who are due to be deported. And I would say that's probably actually a conservative figure, that number may very well be above and beyond. That's just people that they know of that are due for deportation. We have all those illegal border crossers and others who have sought asylum or refugee who maybe didn't come in through the usual checks and balances or through, registered ports of entry. And so I would say that 500,000 probably is on the low end estimate of how many people are actually in this country who should not be.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Lise, do you want to take us away with the daily dose of cringe?
I super do. Okay, everybody, buckle up. Newfoundland and Labrador's brand new conservative premier wants us to be aware of trans people. That's right. Premier Tony Wakeham posted this on X. November 13th to 19th is Transgender Awareness Week. We all have a role to play in building safer, more inclusive communities for all of us. Trans rights are human rights. Everybody deserves to live with respect, safety, and dignity. But because Tony Wakeham wants us to be Canada aware of trans people, I agree, okay? I can't disagree. He got absolutely wasted on this in the quote tweets. You should, P.S., he turned the replies off so no Canadian can say to him, Tony, what in the fresh hell are you doing here? Conservative premier. But the quote tweets just absolutely roast him. But I for one, am not going to give Tony Wakeham a bad time about this. I agree with Tony Wakeham. We should be aware of trans people, Canada. For instance, we should be aware that trans people are disproportionately more likely to be convicted of sex crimes. We should be aware of this, Canada. You know what else we should be aware of? We should be aware that trans women can identify as women at their sentencing and be housed in women's prisons with the most vulnerable population of women on planet Earth. We should also be aware that trans people use autogynephilia, which is a sexual fetish, to gain access to women's spaces and to children that don't belong to them. Thank you, Tony Wakeham, for the opportunity to help Canada become aware of trans people. It's Transgender Awareness Week, Canada. It's time we all celebrate these facts together. Tony Wakeham, just confidential to you, you have a crazy lunatic leftist on your staff that you need to get rid of toot sweet, okay? Nobody that voted for you in Newfoundland or Labrador wants this as part of their government. Get that person fired.
And where in Canada are we not aware of transgender rights? This is quite literally pushed down our throats at every single turn.
Thank you. Thank you. Pronouns in the bio, we're aware.
Of course.
Men in dresses, we're aware. Men barging into our private spaces, into our locker rooms, stealing our sports trophies, eliminating women from scholarships, we're aware, Tony. We are more than aware. But again, thanks so much for the opportunity, Tony Wakeham, staffer who posted this. I am so happy to be able to promote this. And just give a word of advice to Tony Wakeham. Those people are not on your team, and they are going to be working underground to get you to do bad, stupid things that'll get you unelected. You have an enemy within your ranks, and you would be real wise to get rid of them, toot sweet.
And just to really hone in on those words, we have a role to play in building safer, more inclusive communities. Well, tell me about how we can get safer communities as violent crime surges across Canadian cities. This, just to throw to this report that yesterday came from True North, or Juno News, violent crime is rising in nearly all Canadian major cities. And the report comes from the Macdonald-Laurier Institute, with sexual assaults increasing in every major urban center. So you want to talk to me about safe and inclusive communities? Well, how about the violent crime and sexual assault that's proliferating on Canadian streets.
And what LGBTQIA activists will say is LGBTQIA people are super at risk, way more at risk for sexual assaults than any other group. Well, yeah, because guess who's assaulting the trans people? Other trans people. When you base your whole identity on a deviant sexual practice, guess what happens? Sexual assaults. That's what happens. So never let their stats dissuade you from seeing the truth. I mean, that Tony Wakeham did this is such a gross misstep. And like, I take back my congratulations for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador right now. I want to see this post removed. I'm going to send this clip. I hope we clip this clip. We put it on YouTube. I want everybody to comment under it. Okay. And then I'm going to send it to Tony Wakeham's new office and we'll see if they backtrack on this egregious overreach.
I mean, the fact that Newfoundland and Labrador elected a conservative premier,
this is like one of the first. This is one of the first things he says. Like, this is where your priorities are, Tony Wickham. Give your head a shake. We'll call you Tony Wokem if you're not careful, buddy. We'll just start labeling you a Doug Ford lookalike, and that'll be your first and last term. Dare us.
Thanks, Doug Ford. All right. Well, with that, I think we're about 10 minutes after the hour. If we've hit all of our super chats and Rumble rants, then we can wrap things up. Thanks, Lise. Always a pleasure to co-host with you.
Oh, babe, I'm so happy to do it. Yeah.
You'll be back same time and place tomorrow, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern with another host. I'm not sure who it is tomorrow, but never fear because the Rebels will be here.
We have such a great lineup for our Buffalo panel tomorrow. You guys are not going to, like, an absolute superstar. I'm just going to drop a little hint. It's an absolute superstar and you're not going to want to miss it. So we'll see you tomorrow.
And for everybody in the back end, thank you so much for making sure that all the links and everything are ready and people can find us. And thanks to all of our viewers who support our work and especially those who contribute through super chats, super thanks, and Rumble rants. So until next time, stay sane and question everything.
Big news, Rebel News now has premium memberships on X, Locals, and right here on YouTube. For just $4.99 a month on YouTube, you'll get loyalty badges, custom emojis, and access to members-only chats during our live streams. At $8.99 a month, you'll also unlock Rebel News Plus shows and our documentaries. But here's the catch. YouTube could cancel that premium tier at any time. That's why the best way to support us is at rebelnewsplus.com. It's just $8 a month, cheaper if you go annual, and you'll get exclusive extras like an ad-free site, comments access, and even the chance to submit op-eds. Wherever you join us, thanks for keeping our independent journalism alive and strong.